After OneDrive, we're going to start with Word. Word is one of our most commonly used apps because that's obviously where we write our papers. You should automatically be signed in, but we might have to click through some of these prompts. Now I can get started on a blank document. The first thing I need to do always when I start a new blank document is to save it to OneDrive. No matter what, start with saving. Here's where you can then choose your OneDrive, choose the folders that we've made, and save your document into one of those folders. If you don't have the correct folder, you can always create one from here as well. Make sure to rename your document and make sure it's something specific. I can't tell you how many times as a teacher I've gotten misspelled titles of documents, which then automatically just makes me think, I should check this paper a little bit further. Bonus points if you put your initials next to your paper. That helps teachers actually just identify between them. So now that we're in our document, we need to start by just typing into it. Every single paper at Valley needs to be written in MLA format, so we need to start with our header. You're going to start with your name first and last, and then your teacher's name. I'm going to pick Mr. Streeter because this is the one who's going to teach you about it your freshman year. Then we're going to say the class that we're in and the period that we have that class. And then we're going to do the date, and the date is written a little bit different. It's going to be day, then month, then year. That would be MLA format. Once your header is complete, we're going to highlight all of those words because in MLA formatting, we have to be double spaced. So we're going to go up and we're going to click on this paragraph formatting button over on the right, and we're going to click line spacing 2.0. That's going to double space it. So every paper you turn up in at Valley should be double spaced. In that same place, I can then change the paragraph formatting. So I'm going to center it and add my title to my paper. And then I am going to go change it to a left alignment, and I'm going to start my paper. Right next to that paragraph formatting is the indent button, and you also have it on your keyboard. And so now I'm going to start writing my paper. You can change the font size or type up in the top left-hand corner. For MLA formatting, you can have Calibri, Times New Roman, or Arial, and it needs to be 11 or 12-point font. Right next to that, you'll see the bold, italicized, and underlined, as well as the 2 A's. If you click on that, you'll find subscripts and superscripts, which would come in handy when writing for science, as well as one of my favorite features, which is strike through. Right next to that, you have the highlighter, you have the font color, and then next to that is bullet points. So if we're making a list for a lab, or if we were doing steps of a lab report, we could do that with the numbers or with the bullet points. That's it for our home taskbar. So now we're going to go over to the insert taskbar, which we can use to put stuff into our paper. So the first thing we can insert is a blank page, and then right next to that is a table, which would come really in handy when writing science papers. And then you'll notice that table ribbon only pops up if you have the table selected. So if I click out of the table into the rest of my paper, the table ribbon goes away, but as soon as I click back on my table, it comes back and I can format it. Some other things I can insert photos from my camera roll. I can insert photos from the camera right now, so maybe I'm taking a picture of something in my lab. I can insert shapes, and as well, the shape ribbon only comes up if I have the shape actually selected. And then I can insert icons with the little duck picture. That would be most similar to like clip art. You can also do links and everything, but that's going to come more with your Complit class later. But the other thing I really need you to know on the insert page is how to put in page numbers. We're going to select the top right. It's going to automatically put in a number, and then you're going to add your last name. So on all MLA formatted papers, you should have last name and page number in the top right-hand corner. One more thing with your header is just to make sure that your font for your paper and your header is always the same, as well as the size. So if you change the font for your paper, make sure to change the font for your header as well. The next tab that is unique to the iPad is the draw feature, so we can actually select the pen and draw directly into our notes. So some teachers will have you write into a lab or make sure that you're doing your own work. They can see your handwriting. And some kids say, I can't write neatly. Well, you can make your font smaller, and you can write with a stylus, or something that's cool is you can actually write bigger and then use the select objects feature to then resize what you just wrote. We also have the eraser. We have the stroke eraser, which means it'll just erase that entire last stroke you did, or you can move to the small or medium erasers, which erases exactly what you're touching. Next, we have the pencil, we have the highlighter, and both of those are cool. But then if you're trying to actually scroll down in your page, you'll notice it just keeps drawing. So you need to turn off Draw with Touch, and you can actually scroll on your page. Next up, we have the Layout tab, and the most important thing I need you to know here is margins. So margins for all papers that are MLA format should be 1 inch all the way around, which means every single paper at Valley should be 1 inch all the way around, which is the default. You can also change the orientation to landscape or portrait depending on what project you're working on, and you can also change the size of the paper. In the Review tab, you'll learn more about Incomp Lit, but the most important thing I want you to know about is spell check, which is over on the left. Just make sure spell check is always on so it's always proofing your paper. And under the View tab, the most important thing is the ruler, so you can actually adjust your margins and your formatting of your paper. And then you'll notice there's a little light bulb up at the top right. So if you're trying to figure out how to do something like strike through, you can just search that in the little light bulb. Or if you're searching within your document for a word or something, you can just type that in and it'll point out where it is in your paper. One of the most important buttons is over on the right. That's the share button. And you can't share anything unless your document is saved to OneDrive. So make sure you take care of that first. Then if you click on the share button, you can type in someone's name, student or teacher, and it will share that document with them so that you can be collaborators. So if you guys are working on a research project together, you can share all your research together. If you're co-writing a paper, you guys both have access to it. This is supposed to be used for group projects together. If you don't want this person to actually edit the document, you just want them to have a copy of the document, make sure to turn off Allow Editing. If not, they could end up editing your original document and you really can't get it back unless you go into the history of your paper, which is pretty cool. You can always revert to a previous revision of your paper. If you've made edits and you lost something, you can always go back. And if you've lost something, you can definitely reach out to the tech office because we have ways of seeing even further back than what you guys can see on your iPad. Under those 3 dots, you can also choose to print your document. There are some specific printers on campus that you are allowed to print to as students, but you do have a specific budget, and so you don't want to go over that. So only print things if you really need it. You'll click on the 3 dots, click AirPrint, pick one of the printers on campus, and then the first time you've ever done it, you're actually going to have to put in your username and password. Once you click OK, it should print off just fine. Keep in mind there are some limits on different printers where you can print a maximum of 5 pages at a time or something like that. And the last thing I want you to know how to do is export a document as a PDF. So you'll click the 3 dots, Export, PDF, and then save it into your OneDrive wherever you want as a PDF. And that'll just be teacher preference. Usually teachers want your raw file turned into Canvas or Moodle or whatever. But sometimes teachers want you to turn in a PDF, so that will be up to them. Make sure to follow their instructions. All right, on to next video.